Let's go.
Masiye deep ixoxisi.
Let's go. There's nothing to talk about it.
Besifuna le love back.
We wanted this love back.
Siyakholelwa kwinto ethi intshutshiso zakaloku nje azisenawufana nobuqaqawulo obusezawutyhini.
We believe that all persecution of today shall not resemble the glory that is to be revealed.
Kuba sikholwa kuye sikholwa nakubawo konke kuzawulunga.
For we believe in him and believe to the Father, all shall be well.
Lo ndimazisayo nguDeputy President.
He whom I am now revealing is the Deputy President.
Ungu-Deputy President we-African National Congress, your organization.
He is the Deputy President of the African National Congress, your Chief Apostle.
Ungusekela mongameli welizwe lase-South Africa.
He is the Deputy President of South Africa.
Uhamba nomama inkosikazi.
He is together with his wife.
Apha ecakwethu.
And
Sekela mongameli uphakame singabi sabalibazisa ngokuchaza koutshonilanga.
Deputy President, deliver to us before we waste time.
Imandile Thanksgiving.
This is a lovely Thanksgiving.
Zawuzoko koko.
I will come all the time.
Thank you very much. Siyabonga. Ma ndihloniphe Chief Apostle.
Let me honor the Chief Apostle,
Professor Caesar Nonqunga.
Father Professor Caesar Nonqunga.
Mr. Austin Nonqunga, President of the Church.
Also the Mongameli Wenkonzo.
The Church Presidency.
Bumongameli Benkonzo.
The Premier of the Eastern Cape, His Excellency Mr. Oscar Mabuyani.
Premier walapha eMpuma Koloni.
Ngizawucela amadoda wonke sime sikhahlele. Ndlovyezwe. 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 This is in recognition of Ukumkani. Let me also recognize our Deputy Minister of Health, Dr. Dlomo, members of parliament who are here with us today, especially Mr. Vuyo Zungula and Mrs. Marau who have joined us. All the religious leaders who are here today, but kakhulu, all of you fellow congregants, siyanibulisa nonke. Sithi sanibonani, siyabonga kakhulu ukuthi nisamukele namhlanje. I was saying to Chief Apostle earlier, Mashatile lapha ngithi no. Normally when I come to church, I don't want to make speeches. I'm coming to worship with you. Ibaluleke kakhulu le nto ukuthi as leaders umasiza, we must come to worship the Lord with you. Ngathi ku Chief Apostle, don't worry about time. Preach. I have all the time. And now that he has done so, I'm sure all of you will agree with sihluthe kwemoya. We're going to leave here, Chief Apostle, much stronger to go and do our work. I was glad when they said, and I quote, "Let us go to the house of the Lord." Close quote. I'm certain that most of you are familiar with these holy words from the holy book of Psalm 122, verse 1. So I too was overwhelmed with joy when Chief Apostle Professor Sisa Nonguga invited me and my wife to participate in this international Thanksgiving ceremony. Siyasajabula kakhulu uma Chief Apostle what come, let's do Thanksgiving together. Come, let's celebrate. When I spoke to you, Chief Apostle, on the phone the other week, I felt a connection with you. And I'm pleased that you have given me the opportunity to come and worship with you and all the members of this church. Chief Apostle, I'm here not as a newcomer to the church. You know, sometimes when the leaders come to church, I know you call us visitors, but let's welcome the visitors. I'm not a visitor because I grew up in church. And I always remind people that, and I told to Chief Apostle that my father was a bishop, and I used to teach Sunday school when I was young. So ngikhulele enkonzweni mangizala ngizosonta nani so that we worship the Lord. Chief Apostle, I believe that we should always express gratitude to God, not because everything is in order, but because we recognize the significance of our existence and know that such gratitude elevates us to a place of humility and joy, which is how God desires us to live each and every day. Hence, it is written in 1 Thessalonians 5, chapter 5, verse 18, and I quote, Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God for you in Christ Jesus. Close quote. So ngasonke isikhathi we must always give thanks. Thanks to God for our living. Thanks to God for what He does to us every day. So if thanksgiving must be a thanksgiving every day of our lives. Brethren, we are here today to give thanks because we believe God has bigger plans for our nation and that the Almighty is looking down on our country with excellent intention and plans to benefit and make us great despite the difficulties that we are experiencing. Uthixo never had bad intentions for us. He always have good intentions. Uyazi uma sihlupheka, uyazi uma sineyinkinga, and He'll always ensure that He assists us all the time as long as we look upon to Him. And despite our difficulties, we have much to be grateful as a nation. We know where we come from. We have achieved democratic freedom, which entails the freedom to practice our religion without fear of persecution, amongst many things. As South Africans, collectively we can agree that South Africa is better and getting better all the time for the past decades. But we need to do a lot to make it even better. Sisebenze sonke sibambane simanyane because together we are stronger. Together we will succeed to make this country better. And I'm very happy, Chief Apostle, as you said, let's come together once again. Nathi Chief Apostle sabantwana baka OR like you. You know, when I was in prison, I used to like singing a song about OR. And I can see Chief Apostle is very passionate about OR. And that song, Chief Apostle used to say, Igama likaTambo malibongwe. Igama likaTambo malibongwe. We used to sing it in prison. Just that I have no time to sing. There's rain. We have to finish early. I'll sing for you one day. But Chief Apostle, I want to say today, together with the church, we want to establish an atmosphere favorable for growth and development of our nation. We urge all government, business, and interface leaders to unite and build a better South Africa for all. We can never divorce the church from the politics and the concerns that face our society. When the country was in despair, you, the church, were a beacon of hope. You were part of the massive effort to liberate this country. In fact, Chief Apostle, I always remind people that the African National Congress itself, yaqalwa abafundisi. So we, as the young generation, must remember that right from the beginning, the church was there. The religious leaders were there. They worked with this organization for more than 100 years. But even when we got into government, the church leaders were there, and they must continue to be there. One of the responsibilities that the president has given me, Chief Apostle, is to work with the churches. And for me, it was a good responsibility because it came natural. So I was not a stranger with it was easy when he said, I want you to work with the churches. Chief Apostle, the role of the church in building a better society did not end when we attained freedom. As I said, we have an important role to play to fight social ills. Chief Apostle was talking earlier about Nyaupe. We know all these social ills. We need to be uplifting the underprivileged communities and make sure that we improve their quality of life. We deeply appreciate the church support for our responsibilities to fulfill our government role in addressing these problems in our society. It is widely acknowledged that social cohesion is a fundamental element of each society, necessitating the active participation of each and every member in the joint goal of establishing a cohesive society. Nje siwuMzansi Africa, kumele sisebenze sonke to be able to achieve a cohesive community. We must steadfastly preserve or persevere in our collective effort to promote a spirit of inclusivity amongst all individuals, regardless of their diverse tapestry of our racial, religious, cultural origins. For in the divine gaze of the Almighty, we are all the same. Sabantwana bakaThixo sonke. He sees us in the same way, and therefore, mele simanyane, sisebenze sonke, because the Lord our God sees us as the same as his children. We know that without your cooperation as interfaith leaders, we will not be able to successfully carry our work. Me in particular, given the role of promoting social cohesion, I need more and more to work with religious leaders. Sisebenze sonke namakhosi, and I'm happy Kumkan is here today because that's one of the roles that I've been given, to work with amakhosi wethu in all our communities. Whenever I go all over the country, I meet with our traditional leaders, I meet with our religious leaders so that we can continue to build a better country. Chief Apostle, we need you, the church, to be part of our initiatives to fight gender-based violence in our society and promote equality. We need you to be the voice of women and children who are abused. We need to be the refuge and defender of women and children's rights. We must speak against sexual violence and rape of young children and women. We must not be silent when we witness acts of abuse or rape against women and children by our brethren or even family members. It is a Christian thing to do to fight for these vulnerable groups. Fellow worshippers, ibandla lonke, masisebenzeni sonke, sibambane ngezandla, fight poverty, ukuhlupheka, ensure that our children get quality education, fight drugs, unyawupe, and all this substance abuse, fight crime, silwisa amasela. But we also have to fight to ensure that our people have better housing. Babe nezindlu, bathole imisebenzi so that they can have a better life. Work together to fight teenage pregnancies, high HIV infection amongst young people. Chief Apostle, on Friday the 1st, we observed World AIDS Day under the theme, Let Communities Lead. Besekusho lokho because we know ukuthi uma umphakathi uhambela phambili, when our communities are the ones that are leading, we will succeed. So we want to redouble our efforts where we are led by communities to ensure that we fight the scourge of HIV and AIDS, we fight the pandemic of gender-based violence and femicide. As modern churches, we should be aware that teaching about sex is not taboo. We should teach everyone to wait until the right time. We should teach about this sexual education. We strongly encourage the church in its capacity as a moral and social leader to encourage a collaborative effort with us to effectively tackle social difficulties. The government relies on you. Uhulumende angeke aba uhulumende ngaphandle kwabantu. Muso ki muso kabantu. The government relies on the people. It relies on you, and it relies on the religious sector to point out mistakes in a constructive manner and recommend solution. So Chief Apostle was saying to me, is that fine? I was not too harsh. No, right. Because if you don't criticize, we will not know. Angit, the leaders of the church, the traditional leaders, when things are not going right in government, they must criticize. Ningasabi. Because when you criticize, we know what to fix. So, Chief Apostle, you were not harsh. And Udia agrees. Good. That's what we wanted to hear. The criticism, because the criticism says, lungisanila, nilungisenala. And by doing so, we will all reconcile and build a stronger movement going forward. And I'm happy, Chief Apostle, when you emphasize that let's deal about today and tomorrow. A lot of things went wrong in the past, but this is an opportunity to rebuild, an opportunity to start a new chapter together. As I go towards concluding, I want to say to our Chief Apostle and Nama Apostle Bonk and the congregation, the door of my office is wide open. Ngiyazi ukuthi abantu abaningi bathi hey asibatholi mabangaze abafike Union Building, you'll never find them. The door of my office is wide open. Uma ufuna something kuhulumende, izinto zingahambi right, you can come to the Union Building. The doors are open. We will be able to address your problems. Ningasabi. Ningasabi. Because uhulumende wabantu. The government is a government of the people, and it must always be available for the people. Abantu bangasifuni bangasitholi. They must always find us. As we draw nearer to 2024, we urge the church to educate the congregants about the value of voting. We also ask that you pray for a peaceful election and for our nation to continue to uphold and defend its democratic system, where people are free to vote for the parties of their choice. That's the strength of the South African democracy. Hayi kwamanye amazwe uthola ukuthi uzawubulawa because uvotela abantu. Here we are free. This is a democracy we fought for. Let me conclude, Chief Apostle, by pleading with you to keep playing this constructive role in our society as a leader of the church with other churches through your spiritual teachings and social initiatives that assisted in the healing process, in the restoration of our national unity. Lastly, Masengcibezela, I want to say to Chief Apostle Nongunga, we congratulate you on this Thanksgiving celebration. Siyabonga kakhulu. Realeboga akhensa nangumso. We must continue to do thanksgiving. We must continue to thank the Lord. I therefore wish you and the church the best, that it will grow stronger and prosper. Likhule bandla, sibona abantu. Chief Apostle, we are saying there's no wall big enough. I'm sure very soon there will be no stadium big enough. Because when you do good, the Lord will always give. Njengoba ushilo, we must ask, we shall be given. Malikhule bandla, if we ask the Lord, we shall be given, we shall grow, we shall be stronger, and we shall prosper. Igama lenkosi malibongwe.
Sengiyache elankosi